Yo, I'm Toycat and welcome back to our third channel walk and talk video. And it is raining here, which is annoying because I always try to make the point that it doesn't always rain in the UK. It's something like 100 days in the year, so like a quarter of the time. That's a lot, but it's not all the time. But yeah, every time I do one of these vloggy style videos, it is raining. So whatever, it always rains in the UK. That's just now a fact. And I've got a new camera that I'm gonna be testing out. I'm also gonna be apparently testing if it's waterproof. So if you see this video, the GoPro 9 is waterproof without a case. Anyway, with that said, this is a video where I wanted to talk about some things. As always, I do on this channel. It's just a place where I rant about things, apparently. But one of the things that I want to talk about is kind of introspection. Do you ever have a conversation with someone and it seems like the things that they're saying, they haven't just come up with on the spot, just then. They're hearing it for the first time as they're saying it. You hear something that is so blatantly just, they are saying some words that they heard a few days prior or whenever this last came up. They're, you know, repeating some talking points they heard on the news or whatever else it is. And you're just like, wow, you know, this conversation I could be having with that news show from how many days ago. Or, you know, even the opposite side of things, you can tell someone's got this like really rehearsed point that like they're not listening to the point you're saying. They just keep on saying it over and over again because they've convinced themselves after 100 internal conversations that this is the one way that this should be. And I think about this a lot because it all comes down to, you know, like, you usually just think of them as being weird people when you encounter them in the wild. But I don't like to think that people are just bad or weird or something's wrong with them. Instead, I like to like work out why. And I think the answer is like introspection. Without going into the psychology of the fact that like there's multiple, oh God, oh geez, it is so wet and slippery here. I can see why I'm alone. I mean, that and the rain, I guess. Oh, and now my foot is wet. Do you want to see what it's like here? Nah, let's not show you. Let's just listen to those squelches as I talk about your internal monologue, you know, like the voice inside your head that, by the way, not everyone even hears, but that voice inside your head is something you can kind of have a conversation with, right? Like you kind of reason with it, you like think about things, you say them. It feels like talking to yourself, but it's a bit more complex than that, isn't it? It's oh yeah, oh, this is miserable. You know, the UK, it rains all the time. Don't come to anywhere in the UK, especially Scotland. I guess Scotland's even more famous for raining. I'd love to know what their stats are for number of days in a year that it rains. Anyway, so there's this like voice inside of your head that you can kind of have a conversation with. But the simplest way to put it is like spending time with your own thoughts. I think a lot of people don't spend enough time with their own thoughts. A lot of people think they spend too much time with their own thoughts, but not enough people think that they don't spend enough. Oh, Jesus. Where am I even going? What is this? I genuinely don't know. We're working it out as we go, apparently. Anyway, so a lot of people don't spend enough time with their own thoughts, I think. And even though like, or they should think that they don't at least. And, you know, that sounds like a negative thing because most of the time you tend to think about spending time in your head as like wallowing on something bad that happened rather than like bringing something into reality. I'm just trying to avoid the muddiest spots, so I'm taking the weirdest path. Don't think about it. Just hear the squelches and know that I am in fact trying to go a place with you today. But people tend to think, oh, actually, you think you might enjoy seeing forwards more? I think you might too. Anyway, so I think not enough people. We go on this. Okay, we go on this, and we go on this, and then oh, okay, fun. Anyway, so I think people don't spend enough time with their own thoughts sometimes. And I think this is, you know, like the people who clearly are having a thought for the first time and they're showing it, you're an example of that. But I think there's lots of things, lots of benefits that come from enjoying some time by yourself, and allow me to share them with you now. Obviously, I'm an introverted person. I feel like I recover energy from being by myself. Some people feel like they recover energy from being with other people, but I think for both types of people, it's important to spend time with yourself, even if it like takes a little bit of damage to you. And here's my reasoning as to why. First of all, big benefit numero one is that when you exist moment to moment without like consulting yourself, it's really easy to meet your basic needs. I mean, I've got the basic need that I need to eat some food, and you know what, I crave a cheeseburger right now. I'm gonna go buy a cheeseburger. That need very easily met. Like you know, I'd say maybe it's a bit more complex to you know, get yourself to go to work every day, so that you can afford the cheeseburger or whatever you have to do to get your source of income. But in general, like, meeting your basic needs is very base. Oh man, it is so wet over here. I mean, it makes sense that we're on a hill and it's raining and that it all flows down the hill or something like that, but doesn't mean that I like it. Doesn't mean that I like it. Anyway, so meeting your basic needs is very easy, moment to moment. I'd say maybe discipline is something that builds over time, but you can build discipline for a good routine moment to moment too. But there's lots of things that you can't build by just living in the moment, because, you know, sometimes we like to say, yeah, just stop thinking about it and live in the moment. Valid thought. Sometimes people do get too far inside their heads, but sometimes you're not enough inside your head. Sometimes you spend so long living moment to moment, just making sure the essentials are checked. Are you bathed? Is your hygiene met? Is your food met? Is there a shelter above your head? There is still snow here from like 5 days ago, almost a week ago. That's weird. Anyway, so there's a little snowball over here. Let's go play in the snow. Too many days late. See, I can meet my basic need that I get very happy when I'm near snow. Oh, that is good. That is good. I am happy. But the more complex need that I apparently have to share myself on the internet and to talk about some of the things that are inside my head, that's a much harder need to fill. I need to go to the top of the hill in a different part of the country, because, you know, you don't see the same place twice. There's a lot of work that is required, you know, making sure it follows current legal guidelines or whatever. Like, there's a lot of steps involved in the more complex things in your life, and I think that's why it's important to think about them every now and then. Like, meeting your long-term goals is a lot easier if you think about them every now and again. If you just have the, you know, it's like that classic thing where it's like everyone wants to be a millionaire, everyone wants to win the lottery someday, but some people who want to have a lottery winning event don't play the lottery. Or a more logical version in the UK might be premium bonds. It's like a saving account where the interest is lottery tickets, to put it simply. Like, people don't even put any money into these things, so they can't even, it's like, so like, do you really want that, or do you want that, you know? Like, is it really wanting a thing? Can you really argue that you want a thing to happen if you make no steps towards making it do so? Maybe that's just my personal worldview that I'm inflicting on everyone else, but there are some long-term goals that I cannot achieve moment to moment. To put an example with my YouTube channel, like making a video every day, you know, sure, can do that. Making a video every day that hopefully reaches a slightly different audience than the one before, to try and grow the audience, because every day people choose to unsubscribe or they just become uninterested. Like, if you get 10,000 views on a video, then 10,000 views on the next, that's not the same 10,000 people watching. That means a few of those people stop watching and a few hundred more replace them to get that perfect equilibrium. The natural state of a YouTube channel, the natural state of entertainment, is declining. That's what makes it so impressive when people you know, reverse that climb. That's what makes it not an interesting thing that most YouTube channels you know, go dead within a certain number of years. That is the course which you are fighting against. I mean, sure, some people can swim against the river, but it doesn't make it impressive. It doesn't make it interesting that most people can't, or that if you throw a ball in a river, it throws downstream. It's like, huh, that's weird, that's unexpected. No, that's what you expect, actually. You expect a river to flow in the course that the river takes. And so I think, you know, if you want to fight uphill against something, as indeed a lot of things in life are, you've got to think about them regularly, and you've got to assess, like, well, what actions do I really need to take? I don't know. One of the things I was doing since I was like 16 is saving like any amount a month, because like I had the intention of buying a house. One of the single biggest indicators for wealth, as someone who had none, you know, one of the single easiest ways I could work out was like, oh yeah, houses. Like, you're either paying rent every month or you're paying money that is mostly going to capital that you own every month. No matter how many dumb decisions you make as a homeowner, you're still so much statistically better off on average than someone who doesn't own a home. So it's like, that was one of the first things I had to do. I had to deny myself a lot of basic pleasures in the moment. A lot of cheeseburgers were not had. I'm not trying to make this a conversation about saving, but like, that's an example. Money flows very naturally towards the now and the here. What's the point in money if it can't make you happy, right? But I mean, I to some extent agree with that. Like, if money doesn't make you happy, then, and it doesn't in any way, then what are you doing with it? I think some people have a compulsion to get it past the point where it makes you happy. But I think the real answer to people who aren't made happy by it is like, well, you're thinking very, oh, okay, do you want to look right now at the path where I'm at? It's not going well. I don't know, is this even a path, or am I just going through a pile of mud? These are the questions I ask myself. Anyway, so thinking about your long-term goals, probably a good idea. So you can apply them to your day-to-day life. Like people who, another like example, like there's things that everyone wants, but most people don't make active effort towards. And I think like why? And you know, like another example is like, you know, I want to lose some weight. I gained a lot of weight in America, for example. I've been eating a lot of food this year with not many exercise opportunities to burn them off, because exercise is bad. That is the government message right now. But you know, I at least in the UK, there's an interesting I don't know if you can see my sliding here, but it's very rough. I am barreling through this in shoes that are basically socks, and they're gonna hate me for this. Anyway, so thinking about your long-term goals and applying them to your life, if you want to lose a bit of weight, or you want to be in shape, I think is a better way to say that. You need to do a bit of exercise multiple times a week. You need to eat slightly less, or eat healthier, or eat more protein, or whatever the current advice is. I think most diets are just ways to make you feel like you're hacking the system, but that's a point for another day. So yeah, I think everyone has big broad goals that they want to achieve, but they don't really think about often enough to make effort towards them. And you know, one of the easiest ways to think about that is just like every now and then be like, you know what, why is that? What am I doing in my day-to-day, in my autopilot, that isn't very good? Because most of the time we have to be on autopilot. There are so many things going on, like not slipping in mud, that you need to focus on, because they're going to have much worse consequences for not fulfilling them. Sure, if I have a slightly better plan on how I'm gonna you know, get in shape, that's great, but it doesn't solve the current issue that I'm in. I'm like, what is it, like 200 miles from London? Maybe 300, 400 miles from London. I genuinely don't know. I'd guess 400 miles from London right now. It's a long way to go with my jeans covered in mud, don't you think? Internet, don't you think? And so the immediate need obviously has to overtake at some point, and you can't, you know, some people spend all their time thinking about just the long term in such a way that they never do the short term things required. But finding that balance, thinking about the long term, spending time inside your head is great, not just to think about how you can do things, but also think about what you think about things. Like even, you know, like the most basic goals I mentioned is like have money and be in shape. They're the two basic goals. Everyone has some version of those, whether they're achieving them or not, I would say. But the much more complex goals, you know, like those are the simple things that everyone feels probably happier doing. But there are much more complex goals that I'd say we don't often talk about, we don't often have. Like, you know, even considering, you know, like I mentioned, a pretty cool part I want to say of growing up without a lot of money is that I think money does great things. I am a fan of money. I think it's wonderful. But if you did grow up with it and it hasn't, you know, having more money doesn't bring you happiness, either working out why, how, etc., which is like my angle on things, or even working out, you know, does money make you happy? Or would you be happier spending time doing something else? Would you be happier, you know, I personally think there's a, you know, like the independence that can come from having enough money that you're not reliant on your day-to-day job is something that's huge to people. But like, if that's the thing that you value, working out how you can get independence in other ways, it's important. Working out the values that sit right with you as an individual are a really good idea, not just for yourself, but for how you interact with other people. Because that same thing about like the conversations that you have with people where they just reiterate something that they've heard elsewhere. There's a little hat on this fence. Isn't this just the cutest? Man, that is quite the view out there. Anyway, the working out, you know, like what your values even are. Like we all have some form of intrinsic values that we've, you know, everyone has the same things of like, you know, we all think that independence is good. We all think that, for instance, Look at that, there's a kestrel around here. I can see all these great places in the fog. Anyway, we all think that all these values are good, but it's about how we prioritize them, and you need to work that out for your own life. But also when you have conversations with people, like, you know, if you find a partner that disagrees with you about the most important principles, like they don't actually think independence is so important, they don't even understand the idea. Wait, I'm in Scotland, I should tie this into Scottish independence somehow. See, some of the people here, if we picture it as one giant brain, might think independence be real good. Some of the people here be like, actually, I prefer stability. Stability to independence, perhaps. And you can have that internal conflict as well. Would you rather have the independence of deciding every day what to do and being free to do that? Or would you rather the stability of doing the same job, but being very comfortable, very set up, and having a buffer? You know, they're different words that describe very similar yet overlapping concepts. And knowing which one you prefer is important for picking a partner. It's important for how you conduct your day-to-day business. And if you don't think about it ever, because it's too hard to think about, because it is hard to think, you know, like philosophical dilemmas and stuff are there to help you think about, like, what do you prioritize? Because some people like to pretend there is a magical world where we have everything that we want all the time, and there is just something or someone stopping you from having it. But the truth is, by fundamental limits of human time and ability, there are trade-offs that have to be made somewhere down the line. On a societal level, we have to make trade-offs about what things the government does and who the government taxes, therefore not allowing them to choose what things to do with that money. And we have to make decisions on a personal level too. We have to make decisions about what few things we do support. And I think one of the things that's also useful is working out what you really believe. It's easy enough to just say some things that you heard because they sound intelligent. Everyone wants to be thought of as intelligent in a conversation, and that's why we sometimes do that. Oh god, I cannot get through there. I guess I'm going down. Oh, here. Okay, no, we can go round, I think. It's gonna be hard, but I'm gonna try my best. Okay, I'm switching out to my main camera because my GoPro died. But knowing how you feel about an issue, it's super important. And being able to explain to people, you know, having a conversation where you have your own opinion that can be shifted, you know, and then that's where I think human cooperation is really useful. When you've thought about something, you've arrived at the best conclusion you can with your own data set, you know, your own life experiences, etc. And then you talk to someone else and they have an entirely different set of views that maybe makes you question yours. Again, some people come at every conversation like it's debate, where you have to prove that you're right and they're wrong. But I think it's important. There's a famous Aristotle quote that, like, you should be able to entertain, you know, almost any idea. You don't have to believe an idea to entertain it, perhaps, is I think the exact quote. And it's totally true that, like, you should indeed be able to entertain more ideas than you probably do right now. That is the art of conversation when it is done right, in my opinion. Being able to entertain more thoughts, being able to share your thoughts with someone else and having them share their thoughts right back to you. And yeah, I made this video because I know I've had some reflections based on that recently. Like, you know, at one point I had this issue where I was buying like, food is one of my passions to, like, a problematic extent. Like, you know, let's go down here. What's the worst that can happen? Food is a passion of mine to an extent that is, like, genuinely a problem. Like, I you know, even when I went places, every now and then someone will request, like, a gift, and it's like the only gift really worth giving, in my opinion, because no one wants a souvenir of a place they haven't been to, like a pencil sharpener or like something dumb like that. So it's like, it's food, something unique that you can get there that you can't get here. You know, you could write Edinburgh on a pencil sharpener and it wouldn't make it any more unique than a pencil sharpener otherwise, because it's not actually a unique item. It's just a way to pretend it's a unique item, in my opinion. So I'd get people food gifts, and I realized at one point that, like, I really appreciate food gifts from far down places of things I haven't tried. I like trying new food a lot. Not everyone's like that. A lot of people would just be like, oh, thanks, this is like a thing that I know but slightly different. Yeah, that's great, thank you for bringing that from the other side of the world. And I realized it wasn't a good use of my time, and I realized I realized I was selfishly kind of forcing my values, my thoughts on what is a good gift on other people, which is kind of what we all do all the time. Like, I don't like Christmas cards. I get them every year, and I smile and I don't say anything, because, you know, they thought it was nice, even though it's clear, if you know me, that I'm not a big Christmas card guy. Wait, I am a big Christmas card guy. If you listen to this and you send me a Christmas card, I like your Christmas card. Yours is great. Please keep sending them. I would be sad if you do not send me a Christmas card, if it makes you happy. Anyway, so the one of the things I realized is, like, yeah, if I want to be a better gift giver, think about what the recipient wants. I also realized my current girlfriend does really like food gifts, I would say. I have to, like, be careful about what the food gift is, because she doesn't eat meat, but it's like one of those things I have to think about. But it's like, yeah, I'm by thinking about that, I stopped doing an endless cycle that was like wasting time, baggage space, and effort. I mean, obviously I'm not traveling much these days. Is there much good food you can find here? I should get a deep fried Mars bar. That should be the end of this video. Anyway, that's one of my favourite dumb Scottish things. Anyway, speaking of dumb Scottish things, the second realisation I came to recently is, it's, you know how people say, so, like, you can't put a price on friendship? Well, I was looking for houses in London, and I've been deliberately limiting myself to a part of London where I can easily visit and can easily be visited by my friends that live where I do right now. Is this an electrical fence? I want to press it so bad. Oh no, it's not. It just says caution, sheer drop, steep drop. I got there eventually, didn't I? Anyway, so I've been recently, like, looking at a house, and one of the interesting quirks of buying a house, especially in London where it's so expensive for even the most basic of things, is that, like, you're not within my budget. Even when I push my budget pretty far, there are so few houses that I can buy that are close to friends in that kind of one stop, just hop on and off a train kind of way. And so instead I started thinking, you know, this place is kind of close to friends. It'll cost them an extra 20 minutes and me an extra 20 minutes to visit them, but in exchange I'm happier with the area, and you know, I'm getting better internet, which is important for my job and my day-to-day life. Who doesn't not need internet? And also it's you know, it's a better house and it's cheaper, and it's like, it's better in every way, but it makes the friends that I already have, it makes it harder for them to visit me by a little bit. Like, it's harder for me to give them directions. They have to change train to tube to tube to train. It's gonna be a little bit harder for people to visit me, but in exchange, you know, like, for the once a month that happens, because if we're being realistic, as much as people are gonna spend good money to travel to the other side of the city, but, like, you know, it makes that time a little bit harder. In exchange, makes the rest of my life a lot easier. I now know what the trade-off is there. Humans can do limited things. We have limited money, limited time. And so you know, people say you can't put a price on friendship. I kind of have to. Like, I kind of have to put an exact value on there. And the reality is like, you can find different friends, but how easily can you find £100,000, which is the actual, you know, figure involved for a comparable house? When you compare the two areas that I'm thinking about. I don't want to say them out loud, but you know, you're in London. You know, if you're in London, you know what I'm talking about. If you're in any city, you know what I'm talking about. Look at those trees. That's so interesting. Their roots are, like, all above the ground, and they're like sideways, but they're still going strong. Anyway, I realize, like, I have to put a value on friendship, and I don't know what that value is. Is £100,000 a fair value on friendship? I genuinely don't know. And so I've been thinking about that one a lot, and the best of the conclusion I can have is, like, well, the best of friend, you know, like, it is an infrequent thing, and a good friend will visit even if it's a tiny bit hard. It's like it's only a medium inconvenience. I also have to come to the realization that, like, you know, there are some friends that I won't see anywhere near as often anymore, but it's not like I'm seeing them anywhere, am I right? 2021 joke. Yeah. But, like, I have to come to the conclusion that there are some friends I won't see as much as a result, and it's tragic, but you know, you can think about the decision and it can hurt, you know, the dilemma of, like, what do you do, this or that, but ultimately, just by not making a decision, you're making a decision anyway, you're just not thinking about it. I don't know what I'm gonna conclude. I think I do have to conclude that I'm gonna have to make some friends near me. Maybe, like, I'm also gonna lose my climbing friend who lives up north, because I'll be even further away on that thing. I'm gonna have to change my climbing gym, etc, etc. But if you think about these things ahead of time, at least you can adjust to them. One of the things I almost didn't check before moving house, like I was really dumb, but just assuming that everyone in London had good internet, is internet. And the area I was looking at that was cheaper and I really loved has terrible internet for the most part. There's only a few places that have installed their own fiber lines, and then those places have amazing, like better than average internet. Like there's either like 100 times worse than the nation average, or there's like, you know, 5 times better than the nation average. There's no in between in this part of London, and it's super interesting to me, and it's something I didn't consider. And considering more things like that, considering your actually considering choices before you make them is important. Actually considering opinions before you have them is important, because then when the rest of this happens to them, when real life happens, you're at least more informed about what you think and what you believe. And maybe that's just my opinion, maybe you disagree, but either way, I hope you all enjoyed. I have to get somewhere now. You know, where am I? This is a pretty walk I went on. I thought it was just a hill I was walking to the top of, but apparently it's more than that. And I'm glad that I did. And I hope you enjoyed this video as well. Get some exercise, unless it's illegal where you live, in which case don't get some exercise. And I hope that all is well, and we can do some more walk and talk videos. I've actually been looking at a new scooter recently. I've been excited. I mean, here's a fun rule unrelated to this video. One of the things I realized is like, buying expensive things feels good. Losing money feels bad. Best compromise, when I want something, I wait 2 weeks if it's like moderately expensive. And if I still want it all over the 2 weeks and on the 2-week date, it's like, then you buy it. Then it's clearly something that will improve your life. That's a small tip. There's lots of tiny tips you can make for your own life that can make you better. Maybe spending time inside your head is not actually advisable, but I'd advise it anyway, because you know what? Your boy Toy Cat says thank you for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Third channel, don't care. Get out my faces, you sluts. Goodbye.